Hi again, guys, and today I have come around to fulfill a promise. A few weeks back I made a video called Straight People Are Doomed, and I did so with the caveat that I'd be circling back to do one on gay people, you know, equality and all that. The title of this video is likely something like Gay People Are Doomed or Are Not Okay, which, you know, could apply to like the current state of society, or the fact that everybody thinks the rapture just happened, so like that would being gay would make you doomed, you go to hell, all that stuff. Truth be told, this is not a very serious topic whenever I cover this stuff. It's more just like looking at stuff involving gay people that makes me giggle, sometimes at their expense, sometimes out of relatability. I have scoured many a subreddit for a wide swath of the queer experience. I went on gay memes, lesbian memes, r/196, just to get like the broadest possible range that I could. If you enjoy this video, this card at the end will take you to the last time that we looked at gay people struggling, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you never miss an upload. My son just told me he's gay. I burst into tears, but not for the reason you're thinking. You see, I understand that statistically, men earn about 20% more than women. Marrying a man instead of a woman is simply a wise, long-term financial decision. I'm so proud of my son. I've seen a guy who people compare me to a lot, this with a Y prick, cover this in a video before, but this might be one of the few things that I agree with him on. You really should be like maximizing everything in your life to get the biggest possible bag by the end of it, or at least optimizing your odds to get the best chances of getting money. If you're gender fluid, on days you have to collect a paycheck, you should be identifying as a man. I'm just saying. But if we ever go to war, you should be identifying as a woman so you can stay back. Don't die for that shit. And you gotta be sure not to place all your eggs in one basket. Boys with a time machine. I'm your grandson. Whoa, dude, for real? And this is actually a nice little subversion of the boys with the time machine versus girls with the time machine, because it's like boys do little kid shit, like want to meet their ancestors who they never got to see in their lifetime. Men have their priorities in order and wants to do something of consequence, which men with the time machine, please do not study wolves in captivity. You will damage society in inconceivable ways, and you won't even agree with your findings by the end of it all. And I'm gonna be honest here, I just like don't disagree with this image macro. I understand what this guy is saying, the Omegaverse is just harmful to human society, but I think this little bit of disproven science needed to happen specifically so we could get the Omegaverse. That said, he could also be referring to the way that alpha males in the manosphere talk about that stuff. And you know, there needs to be like a pros and cons list made on if the existence of the Omegaverse is worth letting the manosphere exist, like diametrically opposed to it. The context of the Omegaverse makes certain things that like manosphere folk will say way funnier. I legit had to reread this several times before I realized it was not intended to be a conversation between the beta male and alpha male. The beta male says, "So where do you want to go?" The alpha male responds, "You're going to have the best night of your life. I'll see you at 9 p.m. Wear that tight red dress. Yeah, that you presumably bought for your homeboy." Now, moving on to trans people, their favorite segue to hear in any conversation these days. Trans people just love being the center of conversation and look forward to everything that's going to come out of the mouth of the guy who said that. I think one of the most important discussions we've been having around them is criticizing the names that your trans friends decide for themselves on the first try. You had this fella going, "No, as a trans person, please criticize your trans friends' names within reason. Within reason. I almost named myself after a fucking Minecraft mob when I first came out. Kid named Snow Golem." I've also seen like the reverse of this trend going around Twitter where it's like, "Oh, my dead name can't be that common." And then they give you a hint like it's a riddle you can solve as to what their dead name was. And I remember one of them being a literal Minecraft mob. Is there like a name distribution system where when one person's name dies that goes to like a pool of people who are looking to adopt that name for themselves? I don't know, man. I was never really good with logistics, much less central planning, like holy shit. But before we continue, you guys may have noticed that I look a little different. This is the double-sided reversible parka from my new macabre G-Subs collection. Quick note on the sizing, this thing is long as hell, so be sure to check your sizing on the G-Subs chart. I could be butt-ass naked under all these clothes and you'd have no idea. But in addition to this double-sided parka, we have this awesome wrap-around horror design shaker cup. No sex appeal in the traditional way. Merch that might freak people out in public just as much, but you can justify wearing more. We also have this double-sided oversized skeleton t-shirt, as well as this desk-length mouse pad with this behemoth just looking over this desolate wasteland. All this art was made by the incredible Odd Oblivion. I have been a fan of their stuff for a long time, and it was like so dope to be able to like make G-Subs first ever horror drop come to life alongside them. I've been really excited for this and been working on it for months, just getting feedback from a bunch of horror creators on the roster. And if you want to get anything in this collection, you can go to the first link in the description and use code Kwite for 10% off. Here is a very unexpected example from this whole thing. Trans inclusive hater. banger. From Culture Crave, Elliot Page has been officially cast in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Then the reply opens by saying, "Oh, fuck this." And I feel like a lot of us are primed to like blank out what is about to be said next as something that's very stereotypical or uninformed. But no, the next word after that sentence is the correct pronouns. He is truly one of the worst fucking actors of my generation. I thought he would maybe get better now that he is the person he was always meant to be. Hey, supportive. But he's just stayed fucking awful. No amount of self-actualization will make you a good actor, Elliot Page. According to this guy, it doesn't matter how much of your true self you become, the real you has always been dog shit at acting. These are not opinions that I hold. I've loved him in some of his performances. But holy fuck, that's brutal, man. It was like baiting people into like thinking you were gonna be way meaner. I don't know if this actually is still a thing because it might have gotten struck down in court. I don't remember. The actual event itself was like a few months back. Transgender individuals are no longer permitted to join the U.S. military. And then somebody was saying, you know, there's a way to put this to our advantage, especially considering some of the military activities potentially on the horizon. This could be the funniest draft dodging method of all time. I sincerely think that if a general draft gets started up and this is like a factor that can get you taken out of the draft pool, you will have a lot of people who suddenly become very, very woke. Like, dude, when being gay was a thing that could get you out of having to join the military, even if you didn't like gay people, there were plenty of people who sucked it up because they hated getting shot more than they hated homos. Okay, this one cracks me up. I feel like this has made the rounds every few months for like the last 3 years. Bringing Fujoshi's sister, Fujoshi, you know, likes boys love, bringing Fujoshi's sister to local gay bar, and she is so excited, but it's bear night. No, not those kind of men, not those kind of men fucking each other. So she starts crying and throwing up. I'm generalizing and stereotyping the fuck out of a bunch of different queer-adjacent groups, but I don't really care. I'm here for the bit. Let's circle back to mpreg just so we make sure everybody's getting equal hands here. I made a very light gay mpreg joke. Oxymoron. There's no such thing as a light mpreg joke. As soon as you invoke that subject matter, you have cranked up the tension in the room to 11. Especially considering where you did it at a friend's baby shower, and one of her friends whipped her head around and looked at me like this. Do you like mpreg because you just consumed it passively through fan fiction, or are you into it very, very explicitly? Oh, I've seen actually variants on this one. I think we've covered this one in a video in the past, and I was just saving this as like a thumbnail, even though I have already covered it. But shout out to boring queer people who don't do shit. Just go to work or school and then come home to watch shows while gay. They were getting like a really friendly shout out in this context, but this person, I hate talking to another LGBT person and realizing they're just a normal person who happens to be gay and not a niche, multi-fandom, Tumblr, brain rot, animation meme, neurodivergent, BPD alternative artist gay. Listen, I'm closer to that than I am away from it because I recognized all the words in context that they used, but I really don't identify with a lot of the labels, even if I know generally what they entail. And the thing is, there are certain interests I have where you have to be able to pass as like a normal person who happens to be gay to engage with in any meaningful extent in real life. Not even just because of homophobia. I just have like a double life between the shit you might find on Tumblr tags and what I actually do in person. Alright, lesbians, I'm looking into a lived experience that I have no actual first-hand accounting to relate to, so let me know if this is reflective of what is going on in your lives. Lesbians be like, I hate texting, come live with me. Okay, you know what? I've definitely seen that happen before. I'm not gonna say it's all or even most of yous, but that's definitely like a thing I've seen happen. Lesbian sex is so dangerous. What if you both get pregnant? I've actually worried about this in the context of mpreg. Yes, women's issues. How can I make this about men once more? This one made me giggle because it's like the type of wordplay you could expect in a rap song. The flight attendants just said, masks with straps will drop from the ceiling. Can you imagine like recording this in your coach seat, like in the middle of the plane? There's like only one armrest per two people. And as like the person next to you just kind of sees you doing the record button, they get a little curious, so they check in on what you're typing for the caption. But this is not a person who is at all up to date with what any of the shit means, so they just look over and like, well, yeah, that is what they said, but you misspelled masks. And if they do know, either through experience or through pure osmosis, like, then shit, what's going through their head at that point? Oh my god. The issue is that I think this next one could apply to certain straight dudes. It could certainly apply to me. Who said that? Me. I don't suck dick. Her with her strap out. Here comes the airplane! Ooh, 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 ooh. I want to eat it. I hear an airplane. I must eat it. Decent transition from the last one where it was literally about some shit like an airline attendant was saying pre-flight. All right, moving on from lesbians. They'll probably show up in like a general sense, but I didn't pick too many from the main subreddit. They should invent bottoms that don't need prep. Trans men are right here, by the way. What trans powers am I missing to not need prep? Bruh, I forgot about pussy. Hey, it happens to the best of us. I get none, so like it just isn't really in my life enough for me to even like think about its existence. I only really ever get it brought up in this context, which is probably a really unhealthy way to like consume it. I don't care what you have down there. It's not relevant to my experience because I ain't getting none from either direction. Oh, here's another lesbian one that I meant to include. Lesbians will see a girl using a weapon expertly and lose all higher cognitive functioning for 5 minutes. It usually goes on for longer than that. But like that's the truth. Like there's a very easy way to stereotype. I feel like not even just queer people, but like anybody sexually attracted to other people, like at all. You can put them into broad groups of the type of individual they would immediately just fucking swoon for if they were propagandized properly enough. Many such cases on this one. I love you so much. You're the best. That's kind of gay. And the people saying this to each other are out and out committed public boyfriends. I won't lie, it's almost like a defense mechanism when you're just not used to taking compliments or being like openly praised by someone who loves you. That's gay. I don't know how to accept positive affirmation. I'm working on it. Is this the new pride flag? Where's the pride flag? Fuck knows. Just put out the twister mat. I mean, have you seen some of the fucking acrobatics these queers get up to in bed, man? Like, they just invent new positions every single fucking day, and I just can't keep up with it. And I mean, it's got like most of the colors on there. Like, it's got more colors from the rainbow on the twister mat than it doesn't have, unless we're like talking to updated versions, in which case we're gonna really have to change the rules of Twister if we want it to be queer compliant. Okay, this is like the real type of struggles that I'm looking for. I usually only get stuff like this with furries who accidentally have a slip up where they do something that they try to keep around other furries, but they do it around their family or their normal flesh-walking friends. Except this time it's with homosexuality. I may have just accidentally came out to my entire family in the worst way possible. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, this is pretty bad what we're about to read, but there are most certainly worse ways to accidentally out yourself, and I will be going through a few of these scenarios after we're done reading. My grandma was saying how gays are going to hell, and I didn't want to deal with it, so I started to leave. You know, just removing yourself from the situation when it starts to get dicey. Then my cousin asked where I was going, and I said, hell, apparently. See, my thing is, yeah, that probably was a messy way to do it, and is gonna leave everybody like real frazzled and like more flailing than actually processing what it is you said. But at least you got like a cool one-liner. You might have done it earlier than you really wanted to, and it was more reflexive than intentional, but you at least got a nice one-liner on the way out. One that like could make your grandma maybe feel bad and be open, depending on how much she believes that you're going to hell, that it's worth trying to get you to know you for who you are. But I'm gonna be honest, one scenario comes to mind that is way worse. Let's assume it's the same grandma. Like, what if she just walks in on you having gay sex? I feel like that's way worse. No, your whole family walks in on you having gay sex, and that's how they found out. I think that's way worse than like you saying it through like a snarky fucking joke on your way out the door. All right, let's close this out with some classic fucking gay shit. Me sucking dick and eating ass, just unrepentant, just getting all up in there, not really thinking about it. Then me when an apple has that brown mushy spot. I feel like this is a thing a lot of people like don't actively clock. They just kind of assume you've washed before you're going in to eat something down there. There's no washing the rot out of an apple, and like even then you can still eat around it, so I feel like it's a little different. Ooh, we have the gaydar system. Just do this at like a Republican National Convention. See how many people you can grab doing that, huh? And honestly, like, being gay does not exclude you from, like, doing fucking typical male meathead text typing. Being gay on TV is, like, really romantic and idealized, and it's cute, and it makes you yearn in your soul. Being gay IRL. Hi. Want to drink my piss in an IKEA? I'm also 33. Minus the dating a 33-year-old part. That way it's low-key more fun, dude. Like, just complete fucking mayhem in the sheets. Anyways, fellas, that's all I got. Remember, my G-Sups Macabre collection is at the first link in the description for a limited time only. That card I mentioned should be on screen. Anyways, this has been Kwite, and I'll see y'all next time.